genre.
Back to the Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Cass Fredrickson.
I'm Nick Jimenez.
And I'm Scott Corelli.
Today on the show, we'll be discussing Smith and Jones, the 10th Doctor's 12th story.
Airing on the 31st of March, 2007. It's the premiere of Series 3 of New Who. And what a story. What a story. So Russell T Davies needed a new companion because Rose was gone. She's dead and she's never coming back. But he knew that whoever the new companion was, they couldn't be a carbon copy of Rose. Some original ideas that he was throwing around were maybe a 16-year-old schoolgirl, as well as a maid from the Victoria era or early 20th century, inspired by the interaction between Doctor and Renette in 2006 as the girl in the fireplace. Both of these were discouraged by Jane Tranter, the BBC's controller of drama commissioning, especially the Victorian era maid, because the belief at the time, and I think to this day, is that a companion has to be from modern day and nothing else.
Boo.
Why?
Yeah. No one will watch it otherwise, they say.
We need a hip, cool young person from today.
Right. Always, 100% of the time in the TARDIS.
Like Graham.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So finally, Davies devised medical student Martha Jones, who at age 23 would represent a slightly older, more sophisticated woman than Rose, relying more on book smarts than instinct. That's not true. She had plenty of instinct, I would say.
Kind of the opposite, really, when you think about it.
Yeah. But as with Rose in 2005, Davies was keen that Martha's first story, the season 29 series 3 premiere, should focus firmly on the new companion and her life before meeting the Doctor. An early candidate to portray Martha was Freema Agyeman, who had unsuccessfully auditioned for a role in 2005's The Christmas Invasion. Despite not being cast, she had impressed the production team and was eventually chosen to play the ill-fated Adiola in the 2006 finale Army of Ghosts Doomsday. Unbeknownst to Agyeman, this was privately considered a preliminary audition for Martha. Producer Phil Collinson, in particular, kept a close eye on her performance. Agyeman was then invited to an audition on January 17th, 2006 for what she believed to be the role of Gwen Cooper in the forthcoming spin-off series Torchwood. But in fact, she was reading for Martha Jones. A second audition followed on February 3rd, and finally a screen test with David Tennant on February 15th. 2 days later, she learned that she was cast, and working at a Blockbuster Video at the time, between acting jobs, Agyeman took the opportunity to learn more about the history of Doctor Who, renting every episode available on VHS at the time.
That's so cool.
Bless her heart.
Amazing.
Since the new character needed to be at the center of the action, Davies felt that her place of work was an ideal setting for the narrative. To keep the focus on Martha, Davies dropped a key plot in which the Doctor and the Plasmavore each strove to reach the hospital basement where the TARDIS was hidden. So it was a race to the basement originally while avoiding the Judoon. And he ended up cutting that because he wanted it to be very, very focused on Martha and Martha's character and why she deserves to be a companion. Director Charles Palmer, who had worked with Doctor Who producer Phil Collinson on a series called Linda Green, This was his first assignment on the show, but his father, Jeffrey Palmer, had played a character called Masters in the 1970 episode The Silurians, as well as a character called the Administrator in 1972's The Mutants. The role of Francine, Martha's mother, went to Adjoa Ando. Apologies if I mispronounced that. Who had been Sister Jat in the previous year's New Earth. That is one of the cat ladies. Finally, Trevor Laird, who would portray Clive, Martha's father, returned to Doctor Who after appearing as Frax in the second segment of 1986's The Trial of a Time Lord.
Wow.
Virtually all of the material involving Martha's family was recorded during Block 3, when they were also required for the Lazarus experiment. Other reshoots and additional material were gathered throughout the production of Series 3, including the scene in Martha's living room, extra dialogue in hospital corridor sequences, and the scene in which Martha revives the Doctor due to a continuity error involving the sonic screwdriver. Essentially, he used the sonic screwdriver to stop the magnet thing. And then in the edit, the editor pointed out, like, hey, his screwdriver just blew up and now he's using it. And they're like,
He's really put out by it.
Shit. We gotta redo that. So they did. Let's see. Also changed was the original effect for the Judoon weapons, in which the victim's skin boiled away from their body.
Oh my God.
And everyone was like, that is too scary. Let's tone it down.
That's really funny because they use that twice on the main villain of the episode and some random nurse that just like attacks a Judoon.
Yes. Yeah. So that's it. That's Smith and Jones. That's where we end up with this story. An episode that I think is kind of like top tier companion introduction episodes for me. It's no 11th hour. What is? But but I think it's a very good companion introduction. Because you kind of can't quite count Partners in Crime. And as we talked about last round, the Christmas what is it? Not Christmas Invasion. What is that episode called? Runaway Bride is like doesn't quite hold up, I think, for us as much as we would have liked. Rose is like a pilot in more ways than one. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you guys think this is like top tier companion introductory stories?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think out of the three of us, I'm the one that has rewatched this most recent, because I watched it for our like Russell T bracket.
Oh, right.
And even though I just watched it a couple months ago, like it still holds up. Like it's so good.
It's really good. Nick?
Yeah. Oh, listeners, banger incoming.
Yes.
Alert. Yeah. No, this is, there's this thing people say, an expression, if you're like a movie nerd, where like something is a 5-star, 3-star movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when a movie is like, yeah, this obviously isn't trying to be like an all-timer like Lawrence of Arabia, but it is just so satisfying and so competently made and just so tight that it's like it's a 5-star, 3-star movie, and this feels like a 5-star, 3-star Doctor Who episode.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I think we said this on the bracket, and after rewatching it, I reinforced this opinion. I think this is a terrific episode to like start with like a friend or a partner or just something if you're trying to like start the show new. I think this is like a fun one just to kind of catch out of context. And then if you like this, you could like, I actually kind of want to go back to the beginning and see what's this weird guy about.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely adore this episode. I think it rules, and Martha rules. I love Martha. Justice for Martha. Martha is one of the best companions, I think. She's just great. She's fantastic. I love her to pieces. And Freema Agyeman kills it, I think. And I'm excited for 10th Doctor stuff because, like, I mean, I think Series 3 is like the strongest series of like the Russell T Davies era, right? Like
Series 4? Series 4.
Series 4 has that lousy two-parter. With the guys whose names are escaping
Centaurans?
me.
Is this the Jessica Hines and Nate Stevenson one?
Yeah, this has the Human Nature one, which rules. The Series 4 has the two-parter with
the Centaurans?
Yeah, the Centaurans. That
okay, I know which one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the Centauran two-parter, which ironically has Martha in it. But
Martha in it, yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. It's bad.
I like that one more than the Dalek stuff in this series.
Oh, that's true. It does have the Daleks Take Manhattan. That's a rough two-parter. You're right. Fair enough. I don't know. I just feel like maybe this has higher highs for me. I don't know.
Though. Remember we talked about that one too.
Yeah, Gridlock rules. Shakespeare Code rules. I don't know. There's the Human Nature rules. I mean,
Blink is in this one.
Yeah, Blink is. I mean, come on. This is
Cass. It
a really good. After slogging our way through series 2, like I'm so excited for this.
Cass, it all ends with freaky old baby doctor in a cage.
That's true. Yeah. No, that is my favorite finale from this era. So.
Well, if you like, gentlemen, I could go into my walkthrough because on the topic of Martha Jones, I'm so in love with her Devil Wears Prada like icon opening where she's just like going to work on the phone, dealing with family drama, dealing with work, not breaking a sweat. It's such a fun way to introduce the Joneses,
Yeah. I love it too because they're like, look, the Joneses, they're dealing with one thing. And the whole season is going to be about them dealing with that one problem. And like, that's it. We're not really making them characters. Like, they're going to be there, but they're not going to be as fully formed as like Jackie, where it's like, yeah, I know what a Jackie line sounds like. I have no idea what any of her family's lines would sound like. I just, know that they're saying them because it's the actors who are saying them. They're not as well defined as Jackie and or even Mickey, but I like that he's like, yeah, they have one issue and we're going to resolve that over the course of the season. But like, that's it. That's all they got going. But you're going to get to know all of them. Here we go. Like one after the other, just like, we're just going to bop around and meet all of them in one conversation. It's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun way to introduce them and introduce a companion who like knows how to handle her shit,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cass, how do you feel about the Jones family in this introduction?
Is Martha's the oldest, right?
She is not. She's
the middle one?
She's the middle child. Her sister is the oldest.
Okay, because she has like oldest daughter energy.
For sure.
Where like everyone is like, hey, can you tell this person, like, can you handle this? And she's like, yeah, okay. But no, I really like that we get a sense of like her and her family, and like it's really, really like really smooth.
Yeah,
like because it's really well done.
And it's kind of whereas it was with Rose, it was sort of Rose and Jackie against the world, with like Mickey as an occasional like supporting character. This they really take advantage of like how big and messy and full of drama Martha's family is, and you can feel the love even though there is a lot of like yelling and screaming and like Annalise. Yeah. The Annalise of it all. So she goes to work. She's trying to earn her like doctorship. She's still in med school in that kind of like she's right before she's almost at the pilot of Scrubs.
Yes.
My friend from high school that went through med school, that would be our common when I would like, so how's med school doing? And he was like, I'm like a year away from like the pilot of Scrubs. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. She
really
hasn't
funny.
quite started her residency yet.
And she but then on the way, if it just to like lay this track down while she's on her way to work, we get kind of fun if you're watching this episode for the first time. David Tennant just shoves his way into the frame and he's like, look, see, like this, da 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 da. And he like spins his tie around, and Martha's like, okay, weirdo. And then later,
she's kind of like instantly charmed by him though a little bit because she's like smiling, like, oh, what was
hot
what was
weirdo
that about? Yeah, she's like, okay.
Really like Mr. the doctor guy,
Stoker.
Yeah, I knew he had a goth name. Damn, thanks.
Yeah, no, it's Mr. Stoker because he's Dr. B. Stoker.
I cannot believe I did not pick up on that until like this viewing.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you watched it again now.
Yeah.
And then we also get, we meet our villain in hiding in plain sight. We have this lady who's like bedridden, and it's like, what did you have for dinner? Like salad all week, salad all day, every day for 6 days. And she's like, see, this woman has a salt deficiency.
Oh, okay. So speaking of vampires and other people who have been in previous episodes of Doctor Who, so this woman looked super familiar, and she is the nurse in Curse of Fenric.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. She was great.
Yeah. Yeah, she's really good in this.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Yeah,
Great in
she was
both.
in something else I watched fairly recently, and I always remember her being like, "Oh yeah, it's the vampire lady from the Martha Hospital Judoon episode."
And she also meets the doctor, who is bedridden. So he's like, I couldn't have been the creepy guy you just saw who took off his tie. I've been here for like all day. And she does her stethoscope thing and finds the 2 heartbeats. And yeah, the actor playing Stoker is having a really good time being like the Severus Snape of this medical school program.
Oh yes, Nick. Anne Reid is the actress, and we know her most famously. I would say you and I know her as the shopkeeper who runs the garden shop in Hot Fuzz, who gets
Amazing.
stabbed with the shears.
Oh.
Yeah.
Incredible. She's
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, the one that's like telling the story, all the gossip about the town, and every time she reaches someone who's dead, she says "bless their souls," and then just keeps going with the
she has
gossip.
that great line right before she dies where she's like unloading everything. Like, I don't give a fuck what these people think. Or something like that.
I'm selling.
It's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we meet the hospital people, like the other nurses, the other med students, but very quickly it's raining up, which is just vintage RTD of just what's a thing that shouldn't be. Rain doesn't
I
go
think
up.
my only frustration with the raining up thing is everyone is having big reactions, like the woman next to Martha's having a big reaction to it, and Martha's sister on the phone is having a big reaction to it, and she refuses to look out the window, just will not make eye contact with the rain, and she's just like, "You stupid idiots talking about the rain."
Why is
as
everyone
if
going
you've
on and
never
on?
seen rain before. It's a little much, I think.
I don't know. It kind of feels like human nature of like anytime you're asked to, hey, look at a thing, you're like, what, a thing? Yeah, I'll look at a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Cass, there was a moment that stuck out to me on this watch through, and it kind of reminded me of like, oh, cool, yeah, like they are playing with the doctor being in a specific state of mind in these series. So Martha has this pretty well-meaning, kind of like down the middle nursing colleague or co-student, and she is like rightly very upset by being on the moon when the hospital's on the moon. By the way, side note, asterisk, every extra in this episode is giving.
Yeah, true.
They are freaked out this whole episode.
Yeah. Yeah, and
great.
losing oxygen.
Yes, true. Yeah. Well done to all. So, the nursing student is like very like uncomfortable, like, like upset and crying. And the doctor comes in and just like quickly chastises her for like, you're boring me, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, come on, Martha, let's go on adventure. Not her. She'd slow us down. And
right.
The camera even lingers on her being like, well, fuck, man. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't live up to your fucking, and it just reminded me to play something like, oh yeah, like he is kind of a dick at this point in his life story,
Yeah, I mean, I think Russell T Davies' doctors can kind of be summed up as being a little bitchy most of the time. Like they just have no patience for people who he decides are wasting their time,
Yeah.
And this woman he feels is wasting his time. Like, she'd be a waste of time to drag along.
I think because like the Rose of it all too, like he's still like, like, oh well, if Rose were here, she'd do XYZ or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too. But he's kind of bitchy.
Yeah.
That's true. That makes me think of that moment at the very end when he's like, "But you're not replacing her. Just so you know, you're not." And she's like, "Okay, fuck you." Like, I don't think that I
Yeah.
ever
Said he does. Yeah.
So Smith and Jones run off because the doctor introduces himself as Mr. Smith, John Smith. Do either of you know like the first instance of him using that nom de guerre?
I don't know. I think it's in either the second or third Doctor.
I think it's
wanna
third. I'm pretty sure it's third.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Pertwee is the first one to use that.
Call me Mr. Joe, Mr. Smith. Call me Mr.
Yeah, John Smith. Because I think it's how he. I think it's the name he uses when he first shows up at unit headquarters of like, oh yeah, like don't mind me, I'm just John Smith.
Mm.
And Brigadier's like, the hell you are.
What's Aang's codename? Hotman when he goes undercover?
Yes.
So they step out onto the thing and onto the veranda and they can breathe. And the doctor and Martha have their first sort of heart to heart where she's like, I had a cousin, Abiola, at Canary Wharf and she never came home. The doctor's like, oh, I was there. It was gnarly. And then the Judoon arrive on the moon and they enter the hospital and it's delightful. It's so fun because they're scanning people and to check if they're human and then they just grab a big old chunky marker and mark the humans' palms with an X like they're on a field trip. I mean, the Judoon, where do we want to start? We've come to love them so much over the years.
I think the like mask still looks really good.
Yeah,
Like,
they've aged really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the practical effects and like the lip movements and everything. It's really it's good stuff.
And kind of going back to like the dependableness of this episode, like the Judoon, they're never going to win any popularity polls. They don't have like, they're in this, they're in Fugitive of the Judoon, but they're just so like good to use. You always like seeing them pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out to that one human who gets murdered because he like bonks a metal trash can over a Judoon's head. Unprovoked.
Nick, to answer your question more specifically, the first time it's used by the Doctor, John Smith, is in his final story, The War Games.
Wow.
Which he uses when he's being interrogated by a German soldier. And then
Doctor.
immediately continues to use it as the third Doctor.
Shove it up your ass, Fritz. I'm Mr. Smith. So I assume that goes. I love the moment where the Doctor and Martha are hiding out, and in the midst, the first time he sees the chaos of the Judoon harassing the hospital goers and like scanning them, he's like, "Oh, look, you've got a little shop. I love a little shop." He's in fine form this whole episode. I should say.
Oh yeah, I mean he's had a whole season to like get into Doctor mode. Like, can you even imagine what Eccleston would have been like in a second season?
Oh my God.
Like, what form would he have taken? How would he have evolved as the Doctor in a second season?
In a world where he wanted to stay, and that wasn't like being forced to stay.
Yeah, exactly. Man. Can only imagine.
We also you can't forget the horrifying monster bad guy reveal where the lady from Hot Fuzz and Curse of Fenrir drains Mr. Stoker dry with a bendy straw, and it's
with a straw.
It's an example. This is when I kind of had the moment of like, oh, like if I were to watch this episode with like my girlfriend, for example, is like, I've been meaning to like start Doctor Who and get into it. It's like this is your first episode. The villain pulling out a little bendy straw is like, this is the campiest shit ever. This is so goofy.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, yes, of course.
But it's not, but also it's not quite at the level of like Mickey and Rose being like pizza, you know, like
yeah,
it's not,
like the little trash cans.
Yeah, right. It's not quite that campy, you know. Yeah,
where you become like embarrassed a little bit of like,
yeah, like okay, all right. I swear it's not always like a little kids show all the time like this.
But this is
never quite this Power Rangers again. There are the farting aliens. They're coming. But like after that, it's better.
Oh, I also want to give a shout out. We've already met him at this point, and I don't know the character's name. I kept calling him in my head Percy or like Philip from Narnia, but the one, Cassie knows who I'm talking about.
The other med student guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one who's like,
Yeah.
stop hurting them, no, please.
I think they say his name's like Oliver or something, so like that's kind of the same vein.
He is an Oliver. That's a great name. I love how he just finds his mark when the cameras show up. He's like, yes, it's true. I was there. It was terrible. Like, you don't even feel like he's an asshole, but he's just there. So yeah, and then Martha, this is where they get to the computer and the doctor reveals why he was actually there. It's like, I swear I wasn't trying to do anything. I just noticed this hospital had some weird plasma coils inside of it. And I was just investigating. But then the Judoon wipe the files that he's trying to find on the computer so they can't find the patient that they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
They're running. We get the iconic barefoot on the moon scene. And
Right, isn't the reveal right later on is that like they weren't the ones who wiped the records, it was her?
yes, but he has that like, oh, this is Judoon. They wiped the record.
So stupid.
Fuck. Yeah, it's the lady. I just want to geek out as an actor for a second for David Tennant's performance in the barefoot on the moon scene, because like I think just Tennant's sheer imagination as an actor does so much lifting throughout the show, but in this scene in particular, because he perfectly physicalizes this crazy sci-fi thing that's happening, and you could almost picture how it feels to him.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, and like he wills it. That's almost like what you have to do in acting school, is do those kinds of exercises where like pretend the energy is moving throughout your body and then let it go. And so
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that too. And like between that and the straw, it just reminded me like how low rent Doctor Who was allowed to be, where they were just like, yeah, like it's a bendy straw. This costs 2 cents, and the other thing costs nothing. He's just throwing his shoes in the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
It's just acting. And like I miss that aspect of the show. I wish it didn't have to be quite as showy as it does now. Like, because I do miss little things, little fun things like that. Of like, we could like save a lot of money if we just like don't worry about giving her fangs and instead just like give her a bendy straw. You know.
We're definitely we get really fun flashes of that currently. I think about how much we enjoyed the Ruby Road, where he was like using the string to stop the goblins, and how like everything was invisible, you know, or like
yeah, and the gloves, yeah, absolutely, you're right.
So yeah, we learned that she's a plasmavore, something that lives off of blood. Yeah, kind of like Doctor Who and things that suck blood. You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you know, I guess like from, you know, a certain perspective, I mean, there are animals and insects on this planet that live off of drinking blood. Sure. So,
right.
You know, like
bats,
it's not
mosquitoes.
Yeah, it's not quite as like
Republicans. Am I right?
It's not quite as like vampiric as it might seem, like, you know, on the offset, just because it's a
for sure
humanoid doing it.
Yeah, and they really don't call upon the vampire. They don't make any jokes in this one, really, to my memory, right? About oh, she's a vampire.
No. Yeah, I think the like naming him Stoker is like the only like actual vampire reference in this whole thing.
That's like as cute as it gets.
And what's funny is that character was by Russell T in the script was only named after a similar character in a hospital show that he watched called Children's Ward that was named Dr. Stoker, and it was the production designer who designed the placard on his door that was like, oh, well, clearly there's a vampire in this, so this must be a Bram Stoker reference. So
that's so funny.
He made the B. Stoker reference. So that wasn't even a Russell T joke. That was just a production designer.
That's great.
Yeah.
We get so the doctor's like, I'm really, really sorry. I have to do this. It could save thousands of lives. It means nothing. And then gets a big old romantic David Tennant kiss with the new companion, and you know, she's like, that means nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, I just reminded myself.
I always forget about that kiss which is like, yeah, no fucking wonder she was like so like into him the whole season. Like, you know, what are you gonna do? Like
into him / confused. Like, wait,
Right.
what is this?
Yeah.
There's some mixed signals. I don't know. He didn't have to kiss her on the lips. He could have like grabbed her by the head and kissed her on the forehead. It would have had the same result.
Mm-hmm.
Or a little forehead.
Yeah, this means nothing, and then just tilts her head and kisses her on the forehead.
Forehead kisses for the homies.
Yeah, she could have been more confused by that. That would have been fun. I don't know.
Cass, how do you feel about? I mean, because they obviously explain the plot reasons is the DNA and the scan or whatever, but like, like from a narrative script writing perspective, how do you feel about it?
Mm-hmm. I mean, like it works. It definitely is not fair to her, and like, I think as we go through the season, like there's going to be more instances of that where she's just kind of like dealing with the fallout of all this and like not knowing what to do.
Mm-hmm. And it's and it's kind of, it reminds us of relationships we've either have been or seen, or people we know in or whatever in real life. And we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. Last thing though, before we move on, is I just going all the way back to the hospital before it was on the moon. There's this moment after the Martha has her moment with the doctor with the stethoscope, and they all move on. The camera lingers on the doctor looking at Martha, and Martha turns around and looks back at the doctor, and the doctor kind of smiles and nods, and it's like, yeah, it's like even then he was like, I'm in. I don't even know what I'm doing yet, but I'm in. And then the Judoon scans Martha, and then it's like, oh, you have non-human in you. That's weird. Why? Meanwhile, the doctor. Well, yeah, I could have worded that better. The doctor pulls a Bruce Willis in Die Hard, where he pretends to be Carson Clay. If you know, where the doctor is like, oh man, my wife, I'm down, I'm so scared, I don't know what anything is, and the doctor's like, you stupid bystander NPC, I'm going to tell you everything.
It's also great because it's a double Die Hard reference because he's barefoot also. So
that's
my god.
Well done. Should have been called Moonhard.
Moonhard.
Wow. There for a second. And I love the chemistry that she has with Tennant playing dumb. Her kind of like, oh, this dumb himbo, I'm gonna like play with him before I eat him. It's also kind of like Smaug and Bilbo a little bit.
Yeah.
Just grasping at straws perhaps on that last one, but in any event, she does suck some of his blood, enough for him to be dead for a while, and then the Judoon are like non-human detected, and she's like, top of the world, ma, eat shit, motherfuckers, die, and like they kill her. And,
yeah.
And she's been setting up the MRI machine to expel a deadly amount of radiation for like 250,000 miles, which would include the Earth.
Half the Earth.
Half the Earth, the side facing the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Judoon were like, yeah, not our problem. Good luck with that. Adios.
Howdy.
Mission accomplished. Drop the banner. We're out of here.
Not for nothing, but just for the listener's benefit, Ten describes the Judoon to Martha earlier in the episode. She's like, what are they, police? And it's like, sort of a police for hire, but mainly they're thugs. And do you find that description holds up with time of the Judoon?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like,
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. They seem to have, because we see them 3 times over the course of the series, right? We see them here, we see them in the Stolen Earth 2-parter, and then we see them in the Fugitive of the Judoon, right?
Are they included at all? Not that this would count, but are they included at all in the menagerie kind of sequence at the Pandorica opens? Are they there?
yes,
possibly.
she does say Judoon.
Yeah.
But we don't see them.
Yeah, but it's weird because they're not villains, so it's weird that they're even there.
I don't know.
They could give a shit what the Doctor's been up to, really, unless they've been hired to give a shit. But yeah, I don't know.
We have to send one
that
of you to this thing that they're doing.
Yeah, I don't know that totally holds water because they're not like true villains. I don't know. I'm not.
They're
sure.
mercenaries, right?
Yeah, they're
Like,
mercenaries.
They're just doing their job.
Right. Yeah.
Is there any other race comparable to that, of like we're not really villains, but like we can be antagonistic depending on what we're trying to do. If that, conflicts with the Doctor's where he is or his morals.
Silurians?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sea devils.
Silurians,
a little bit.
Centaurans.
Well, I don't know. Centaurans are just kind of warmongers.
Sure.
Yeah, there was that one good guy though.
That's true.
Strax.
He hung out with those two nice lesbians.
Strax.
I used to only want to kill, but then I met these two nice lesbians. Great.
Yeah.
I genuinely forgot how the Doctor comes back to life.
She remembers that he has two hearts from checking him out when he was in the hospital earlier, and then pulls double CPR and revives him. Which I don't know. Call me crazy, but I feel like if the Doctor was that close to death, I feel like it would lead to him regenerating when he was like woken back up again.
Yeah, he's like dead on the ground.
Yeah,
for a few minutes.
Right. I don't know.
I
but
didn't
anyway,
even think about that.
He wakes up and pops back up and kills the magnet thing, but then they're losing oxygen because they've been on the moon for too long and they've just been like recirculating the same air the whole time they've been up there. But luckily when the Judoon bail, they also like send the hospital back to like where it's supposed to be in London.
We get that moment where he's carrying Martha and he's like, come on, Judoon, reverse it. And he's like, it's raining on the moon, Martha.
Yeah. Raining the right way.
It's so dramatic.
It's very extra. It's very big.
Very dramatic.
Did he have to like carry like Frankenstein carry her to the window?
Yeah.
Back on Earth, it's the brother's 21st birthday party. It started with an R, but it's not Rory. But it's the brother's 21st birthday. I don't even know.
It's Leo.
Actually, God damn it, I was so off. But Annalise said something to provoke Martha's mom, which started a whole fight. And there's this moment. So Martha's just kind of like, ugh, my family. And then across the street, she sees 10 with a TARDIS. And she's like, hold on, I got to go. And she crosses the street. And then she's holding her iconic red jacket in her arms. And I was like, oh, shit, this is her out. She's already wearing her outfit. This is crazy. It's cool.
Yeah.
I love how she's dressed for a party this whole series then.
Yeah. And then she's like, I can't just like go off with you. Like I got shit to do. I got rent to pay. And he's like, oh, it's a time machine too. And she's like, fuck you. And he's like, fuck you. And then he leaves and comes back and says, see, I just did the thing you remembered. And she was like, God damn it. All right, let's do it. That moment where she goes onto the TARDIS and is like, doing the thing, freaking out about how big it is. And then when she's like, it's bigger on the inside, and he's like mouthing along with her saying it, that was an ad lib by David Tennant. And so like that.
Oh my God, I love that.
Mouthing along to it and then be like, oh, is it? It's just this classic like 10th Doctor David Tennant like perfection.
Great. And yeah, I've always had a lot of affection for the final seconds of this episode of just like, pleasure to meet you, Mr. Jones. It's my pleasure, Mr. Smith. It's like their shake. It's just good vibes.
Yeah. Oh, I also like the thing about her being like, no, I'm not going to just call you the Doctor. That's something you have to earn. Yeah. And he's like, all right, well, I guess I got to start earning it. And then by the end, she refers to him the Doctor, and he's like, did you just call me the Doctor? And she's like, shut up.
It's like she doesn't even catch herself when she does it. She just kind of,
Yeah. It's fun.
It's fun. Now this episode is just, it's fun.
It's the best. I love this. I wish if all Doctor Who could be just as good as this, this would just be like, this is like perfect, I love this. So,
but they're not.
But they're not. Sometimes they're bad. But luckily this isn't one of them.
Any closing thoughts on Smith and Jones before we turn our backs on it forever?
I'm so excited to be in our Martha era.
Yeah. I know like we love Martha, but have like people come around on Martha in general, or like, because you're more plugged into the fandom, I think.
I feel like to a certain extent, yes, but also like I think most other companions are just shinier to people. Like I think by default people consider her one of the worst companions because it's like her direct competition is Rose and Donna, which everyone seems to prefer. And so like she's like worse by default.
I mean, yeah,
you
it's
know?
such a killer era for companions when you think about it. That she is sort of the underdog, but yeah, just because her competition are like these big iconic characters.
Right, right. And then, you know, going forward, you have Amy Pond, you've got Clara, you know, it's just like, yeah,
Bartle.
but like but I love Martha. I think she's great. I say most companions are all created equal. That's what I would say. With the exception of that one who didn't know how to ride a bike.
He was the best.
Ryan.
I love Ryan. I love the 13 crew. I love those three.
Ryan just doesn't do anything for me. He just doesn't. I like Graham. I love Graham, and I love the other one. What's her name? The cop.
Yes.
Yaz. I like Yaz, but like Ryan doesn't really. Like, who is Ryan?
Well, hopefully we find out next year.
There we go.
That would be nice. That would be nice. Yeah, if we could figure out what his deal is, but I don't think we ever really did.
I'm not gonna call you dad.
Yeah.
But I will. At the end, I'll call you dad.
Yeah.
Oh, joy.
I just know he really wanted to learn how to ride a bike. Anyway.
And then he did. He learned, Cass, what's the name of that place in Lord of the Rings where the elves go back to? It's heaven.
Oh, Valinor?
Yeah. Valinor? That's where it looks like he is when he's riding a bike.
Yeah. That's true.
It looks like he's in Valinor.
Yeah. God. Anyway. All right.
Smith and Jones.
That's Smith and Jones. Next week we're talking about an all-time banger, The Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon.
Wow.
So yeah. I'm excited to revisit that one because man, talk about event television. That two-parter.
That guy from Supernatural's in it.
Right. And it just continues that like perfect run from like the end of series 5 through the Christmas Carol and then this. It's just like wow. Crazy.
What's after that,
crazy
Scott?
Perfect run. Curse of the Black Spot. Yeah. Anyway, that's has an episode ever felt like it belonged in another season more than Curse of the Black Spot? Like, just doesn't even. I forget that it's series 6 most of the time.
Yeah, because it's sandwiched between these two like really big, important stories, events, and it's just like, oh, that's the pirate one.
Yeah, it feels like it should be like a series 5 episode or something,
or like a comic book.
Or a comic book, yeah, or not an episode at all. It feels like it should just not be an episode,
like a story you read in a comic. You're like, okay, it's a pirate one. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, all right, I'll put that back on the shelf. Don't need to buy that. Or like some Big Finish audio that you like zoned out of or something. I don't know. Anyway, but next week, The Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon. Can I get a hell yeah? And we'll talk to you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.